Join me as I challenge myself to break down the complex world of blockchain and explain how it works. Not in a few minutes, but in a full, deep dive told as a story. From the perspective of someone who once knew nothing about blockchain and slowly came to understand it. I want to take you with me on that journey, from confusion to clarity, from hesitation to confidence. So sit back, relax, and let's step into the world of blockchain together. Before I ever understood blockchain, it felt like an intimidating word. I hear it on the news from tech enthusiasts in business articles, blockchain this, blockchain that. It was everywhere, but no one seemed to explain it in a way that made sense. It sounded like something only hackers, programmers, or crypto geniuses could understand. For the longest time, whenever someone mentioned blockchain, I would pretend to know what it meant, nod politely, and quickly change the subject. But deep down, I knew I had no idea what they were talking about. One day, a friend asked me a simple question: "Do you know how blockchain actually works?" I opened my mouth to answer, and nothing came out. All I had were buzzwords in my head, and no real understanding. That moment embarrassed me a little, but it also sparked something inside me. I wanted to learn. I wanted to understand why this one technology was being talked about as if it would change the world. So I began my journey. And at first, it felt like I was stepping into a maze of complicated diagrams, strange terminology, technical papers that looked like they were written in another language. But I didn't give up, because something told me that if so many brilliant people were excited about blockchain, then there had to be something truly transformative about it. And eventually, after hours of reading, watching videos, listening to experts, and simplifying things for myself, I discovered that blockchain is actually a simple idea hidden behind layers of complexity. At its core, blockchain is just a new way of storing and sharing information. It's like a digital notebook, except instead of one person holding it, thousands of people hold it at the same time. And every time something is written in that notebook, everyone sees it. It can't be erased. It can't be changed. And no single person controls it. Once that clicked in my mind, everything suddenly made more sense. Blockchain is a ledger, or record-keeping system shared across a network of computers. Every computer in the network has an identical copy of this ledger. And every time a new transaction happens, the network works together to verify it. Once verified, the transaction gets sealed inside a block. And that block gets linked to all previous blocks, forming a chain. That's where the name blockchain comes from. It's literally a chain of blocks, each block containing a batch of verified transactions. As I kept learning, I realized why blockchain was such a big deal. Traditional systems have flaws that many people never think about. For example, everything in our modern world is centralized: banks, hospitals, governments, payment providers, data storage companies. When you send money, your bank is the middleman. When you store your personal information online, it sits on a centralized server. If that server gets hacked, everything is compromised. Think about how many times we've heard stories about huge companies being hacked, millions of passwords leaked, credit cards stolen, private information exposed. It's because all that data is stored in one place. One weak point. One door to break into. I always compared this to putting all your valuables in a single box in your house. Sure, it's convenient. But if someone breaks into the house, everything is gone. Blockchain removes the one box problem. Instead of data being stored in one location, it's stored everywhere on thousands of computers around the world. There's no central point to attack. There's no single version of the truth that can be manipulated. The more I learned this, the more fascinated I became. It's like replacing a fragile, traditional system with a digital fortress. Traditional systems also suffer from slow processes. Anyone who has ever waited for a payment to clear or for a bank transfer to process knows this pain. Transactions go through multiple intermediaries, banks, processors, verifiers, each adding their own fees and delays. Blockchain offers something radically different: peer-to-peer transactions without the middlemen. If I want to send you money, blockchain allows me to send it directly, instantly, without waiting days, without approvals, without extra fees, and without anyone controlling the flow. Then there's transparency. Traditional databases are often closed off. You don't see what the bank does behind the scenes. You don't see how your money moves. You only see what they choose to show you. Blockchain flips that around. Every transaction is recorded on a public ledger that anyone can view. Not your private identity, just the movement of funds or data. That visibility creates trust, not because you trust a person or an institution, but because you trust the system itself. Still, I had a question in the back of my mind. If anyone can see the transactions, how do we know which ones are real? How do we stop people from cheating the system? That's where decentralization and cryptography come in. When someone makes a transaction like sending cryptocurrency, the transaction is broadcast across the network. All the computers, called nodes, work together to verify that it's legitimate. They check the sender's balance, match cryptographic signatures, and ensure nothing suspicious is happening. Once enough nodes agree that the transaction is valid, it gets bundled into a block. But how do blocks get added to the chain? This is where miners enter the story. Miners are the problem solvers of the blockchain world. They use powerful computers to solve incredibly difficult mathematical puzzles. The first miner to solve the puzzle earns the right to add the new block to the chain. This process is called mining. It takes time, energy, and computational power, but it ensures that no one can just create fake transactions or tamper with the history of the blockchain. Once a block is added, it is locked in with cryptographic seals. Changing it would require redoing all the computational work for every block that comes after, which is virtually impossible. When I understood mining, blockchain finally felt real to me. I could see why it was secure. Not because a company made it secure, not because a government regulated it, but because the technology itself enforced honesty. As I continued learning, I began to see blockchain everywhere. One of the most powerful examples came from supply chain management. Imagine buying a piece of food in a supermarket. You know the label says organic or made in this country. But how do you know for sure? You can't. You're trusting the label. But blockchain allows every step of a product's journey to be recorded, from the farm to the factory, to the warehouse, to the truck, to the store. Every step is transparent, visible, and permanent. Companies like Walmart, Maersk, and IBM are already using blockchain to track food, containers, packages, and medical supplies. It's like having X-ray vision into the entire life of a product. I started realizing that blockchain wasn't just a buzzword, it was a tool to solve real problems. In healthcare, it can secure patient records. In finance, it can remove fraud. In voting systems, it can eliminate corruption by making every vote traceable and impossible to alter. In real estate, it can simplify property transfers. In charity, it can ensure donations are used exactly where they're promised. And of course, blockchain is the foundation of cryptocurrency. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other digital assets rely on blockchain to move money securely without banks. That's why cryptocurrencies became so revolutionary. They unlocked financial freedom. Anyone with a phone and internet can participate. No discrimination, no gatekeepers, no borders. For the first time in history, people could own digital assets that weren't controlled by any government or bank. But the more I learned, the more I understood a deeper truth. Blockchain is not just about crypto. Crypto is just the first wave. Blockchain is going to reshape industries in ways we're only beginning to see. The beauty of blockchain is that it brings transparency where there is corruption, security where there is vulnerability, efficiency where there is slowness, and trust where trust has been broken for years. As I reached the end of my learning journey, I looked back at where I started confused, intimidated, unsure, and realized how much clarity I had gained. Blockchain was no longer a mystery. It was a powerful technology, simple at its core but revolutionary in impact. I began sharing what I learned with friends, family, and anyone willing to listen. I saw that their eyes lit up the same way mine did when I first understood it. And every time someone said, "Wow, now it makes sense," I knew I was helping them take the first step into a world they had ignored for too long. Today, as I explain all of this to you, my goal is not to turn you into an expert. My goal is simply to make blockchain feel less scary, less confusing, and more accessible. If you understand the basics, the ledger, the blocks, the miners, the decentralization, then you already know more than most people. Blockchain is not a trend. It's not going away. It's a foundational technology that will power the next era of the digital world. Understanding it now is like understanding the internet in the 1990s. It gives you an advantage. a head start and a smarter perspective on where the future is headed. So what do you think about blockchain? Have you come across any interesting use cases? Do you see how it might change your industry or your daily life? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments. And if you're curious to learn more, I have an entire collection of videos and stories exploring blockchain, crypto, smart contracts, Web3, decentralized finance, and the future of digital technology. This journey doesn't end here. In fact, this is only the beginning, because once you understand blockchain, you start seeing a world full of new possibilities, faster systems, fairer systems, systems that put people in control instead of powerful institutions. And together, we're going to keep exploring them. One step, one story, one lesson at a time. Asterisk, asterisk, as we come to the end of this journey. I want you to take a moment to appreciate just how far we've traveled together. We started with a single question: what is blockchain? And we ended up exploring one of the most transformative technological revolutions of our time. You've seen how blockchain tackles the flaws of traditional systems, how it decentralizes trust, how it secures our data through cryptography, and how it enables industries across the world to operate with levels of transparency and efficiency we've never seen before. We've walked through real-world examples, from supply chains to digital currencies, and we've looked at how companies, governments, and individuals are embracing this new era of decentralized technology. You've learned how miners validate transactions, how blocks link together to form a tamper-proof chain, and how blockchain empowers peer-to-peer interactions without relying on middlemen. Together, we've demystified a concept that many people find intimidating, and we did it one simple explanation at a time. But most importantly, I hope this story opened your eyes to something bigger. Blockchain isn't just a technology. It's a shift in mindset. It's a challenge to the systems we've always accepted. It's an invitation to imagine a future where trust is built into our technology, where information flows more freely, and where individuals have more control than ever before. So as you step away from this video, I want you to carry one message with you. You are capable of understanding this technology. You are capable of participating in this future. The world of blockchain is not reserved for experts, coders, or investors. It's for anyone willing to learn, explore, and ask questions. And speaking of questions, I would love to hear yours. What part of blockchain fascinated you the most? What new ideas sparked in your mind? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every one of them. If you found this story helpful, inspiring, or eye-opening, make sure you subscribe and check out my other videos. We've only scratched the surface. More deep dives, stories, and simplified explanations are waiting for you, whether you want to learn about smart contracts, crypto trading, NFTs, Web3, or the future of decentralized tech. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Stay curious, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one. Asterisk, asterisk.